The hour is late. We only have a couple of minutes left for this shiur, so we'll share what we can. A couple of thoughts on Yom Kippur. But I know Weinstein is here, so we can't do too much Hasidus because Weinstein needs it. He needs it rigorous, right? Right, Johnny? You okay? So we're going to learn a Rambam. A beautiful Rambam. The Rambam in Perek Beis of Hilchos Tshuva says, "Ezo hi tshuva gemura." What is complete tshuva? For example, let's say a person has the opportunity to do an aveira, something you've done before, and you have the capacity to do that aveira, and you don't do the aveira because you've done tshuva. Lo miyira, lo mikeshlan kayach. It's not because you're afraid. It's not because you've run out of energy. It's just because you did tshuva. Ketzad, for example. Let's say a person had an inappropriate relationship with a woman. So you have the opportunity to be with this woman again. And your mom is right there, about to do the Aveira. And instead of doing the Aveira, you don't do the Aveira because you did tshuva. That is called tshuva gemura. And the Rambam continues and he talks about different psukim. And he says, "V'em lo shav eli b'mezik nuso." Let's say a person only did tshuva when he was old. Ube'eis she'i efsher lo lasos mashahaya oseh apal pisheina tshuva ma'ula moelas hilo ubal tshuva hi. So let's say a person got old, and now their taivas nashim is not the same as when they were younger. So they don't do the aveira, not because they did tshuva. They don't do the aveira because they got old. So listen what the Rambam says. The Rambam says it's not a tshuva ma'ula, but it works ubal tshuva hu. So if you look carefully at the Rambam seems to be telling us there's two categories. There's something called tshuva, and there's something called bal tshuva. Tshuva and bal tshuva. What are these two categories of tshuva and bal tshuva? So I would like to suggest as follows: a diak in the Rambam, a little bit of lamdus. The Rambam means as follows. There's two distinct things, cheftza and gavra. There's the cheftza of tshuva, there's the actual tshuva itself. Did I do tshuva? So if, let's say, for example, I was about to do the aveira, but I said, I don't want to do this aveira, I did tshuva, I'm done with this lifestyle. That's called doing tshuva. But then there's something else. Am I the same person that I was beforehand? And here the Rambam distinguishes between the act of tshuva and the person who's doing the tshuva. The act of tshuva, if you didn't do the act because you did tshuva, that's of course good. If you didn't do the act for an extraneous reason, let's say, for example, you got old. You're not 18 years old. I'm sitting in a room of 18-year-olds, Sammy. You know exactly who I'm talking to, right, Sammy? You didn't do the tshuva because you got old. You grew out of it. You're not. Is that a tshuva? Did you do tshuva? What's the answer, Abosai? Yeah, you did tshuva. It works for you. That's the Lashon Rambam. The tshuva works for you. It brings you an atonement. But the question is, are you a bal tshuva? Did it change you? Fundamentally, did the tshuva change you as a person? Here the Rambam says an extraordinary chiddush. If you're not doing the aveira only because you got older, you're still considered a bal tshuva. The question is why? Why are you considered a bal tshuva? I understand that you did tshuva in terms of the raw activity. You did tshuva. You're literally not doing the aveira again. Okay, beseder, you did tshuva. But why are you a bal tshuva? Why does that change you as a mensch? The only thing is you got older. And if you look carefully at the Lashon Rambam, in the beginning the Rambam says, "Ezu hi tshuva gemura." What is a complete tshuva? Here that was the Rambam talking about the act of tshuva. Here the Rambam comes up with a new idea, a bal tshuva. A person is a bal tshuva. What does this mean? What's a bal tshuva? Especially if I didn't really change. What does it mean that I'm a bal tshuva? About 2 hours ago, a little bit less than 2 hours ago, a young man who's sitting right here to my left, you can't see him. He says to me, "Rebbe, you know where I'm going to be after Yom Kippur? You know where I'm going to be?" He didn't tell me where he's going to be. But is my tshuva going? But we know where he's going to be, right, Jesse? We know where he's going to be. So he's saying, "Rebbe, come on, is my tshuva on Yom Kippur going to work? Considering that I know I'm not yet done with this Aveira. I'm not done with it. Is the tshuva a legitimate tshuva? So I want to suggest a pshat in the Rambam based on a vart from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Johnny, you going to be okay? He's going to be okay. Baruch Hashem. I want to share with you this idea. Unbelievable diak. Unbelievable diak. We all know the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Amar Rav Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael. Ashreichem Yisrael. How good are you? How amazing are you, Yisrael? Lifnei mi ata matayer, umi matayer estem. Who, in front of whom are you purified, and who purifies you? Avichem shaba shamayim. Hashem purifies you, your Father in heaven. Why? Ma ha-mikvah matayer es atmeim, afa kadosh baruch hu matayer es Yisrael. Just like a mikvah is matayer tamei people, so too HaKadosh Baruch Hu is matayer klal Yisrael. Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe, two questions. Question number one. What's this idea, Ashreichem Yisrael? Is Rav Akiva really like coming up with the idea of tshuva? Like, how praiseworthy are you, Yisrael, because you have the idea of tshuva? It's a pasuk in Vayikra. What's Rav Akiva being mechadish? Ashreichem Yisrael. And then he has another question. This one's a beautiful question. The Mishnah could have simply said, Maha mikvah mitaher, afa kadosh baruch hu mitaher. Just like a mikvah creates purity, so too HaKadosh Baruch Hu purifies. Why does it have to say Maha mikvah mitayer as atmeim, afa HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitayer as Israel? Who else is a mikvah mitayer if not tamei people? That's what you go to mikvah for. You go to mikvah to remove the tumah. Unbelievable lesson. The Rebbe says as follows: there is a case of a person who goes to mikvah and he remains in his state of tumah. What would be such a case? So we know there's two types of tumah. There's tumah that lasts for a week. There's tumah that lasts for a day. If let's say you have tumah that lasts for a day, what happens? At the end of the day, you go to mikvah, and then when it comes nightfall, you're tahor. You have tumah that lasts for a week. You go to mikvah at the end of the week. Let's say, Sammy, let's say you touched a dead body. You're tameh for a week, right? But let's say in the middle of the week, on Wednesday, you also touched something that makes you tameh for one day. The question is, should you go to mikveh at the end of that day? Why bother going to mikveh? Rabbi say, hear the kasha, why bother going to mikveh? If you go to mikveh at the end of that day, what are you still going to be? You're still going to be tameh. You're still going to be tameh. Why? Because you're tameh for the entire week. So should you bother going to mikveh? What's the halacha, Rabbosai? You go to mikveh anyway. Even though you're only going to remove a little bit of the tumah, and you're still tameh for the entire week, but at least you removed a little bit of the tumah. Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe, this is a mikvah that's mitaher es atmeim. It's a mikvah that creates purity, but you still remain in your state of tumah. Now listen to the chiddush of Amar Rav Akiva. Ashreichem Yisrael. How praiseworthy, how lucky, how amazing are you, Klal Yisrael? Why? Because here's this young man to my left. You can't see him, but he's an amazing guy. And he says to me, Rebbe, you know where I'm going to be in just a couple of days? How am I supposed to come to Yom Kippur? I'm going to have a little bit of charata on Yom Kippur, but I know in the back of my head that tomorrow or the next day I'm going to do the Aveira. Is my tshuva meaningful? Comes along Rav Akiva and says, yes. Yom Kippur is a mikvah that's metayer es atmeim. It's a mikvah that's metayer even those Jews that are going to remain in their state of tumah, but they're not yet ready to let go of this Aveira. It's meaningful even for them. Now, why is that? Why would Hashem forgive somebody who knows that he's going to do an Aveira in a couple of days? Is that sincere? Is that legitimate? Listen to the first half of the Mishnah. Amar Rav Akiva Ashreichem Yisrael lifnei mi ata metayer umi metayer estem. Who's metayer us? Avichem shabashamayim. It's a father. Yom Kippur must be something that is gentle, because Yom Kippur is a father who's dealing gently with his children. When a father hears a child and the child comes and says, you know, Dad, I'm working on this. I'm not yet there, but I really am legitimately working on it. And the father senses that he's legitimate. His kid's not lying. He's just not ready to let go of everything yet. You know what a father will say to his child? Good for you. Good enough. Keep going. You're somewhere baderech. You're on the way. It's good. It's good. Don't worry. I'll take care of you. A young man was in my office this morning for about 45 minutes. He's dreading Yom Kippur. because he's mamish beating the living daylights out of himself. He's treating himself like a piece of garbage. He's going through in his head every single aveira that he's ever done, and he thinks that it's frum. And he's sitting there, he's saying, Rebbe, I'm feeling such a chalisha sadas, I'm feeling so depressed. I was like, of course you're feeling depressed. It's the very beginning of Tanya. If a person is going to constantly tell himself that he's a Rasha, he's not going to be able to serve Hashem with joy. This guy is mamish feeling depressed. We have to walk a very fine line on Yom Kippur. We have to be ready, Johnny, this is for you. We have to be ready to acknowledge with honesty, these are the Averas we've done. And we have to be ready to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a forgiving God, even if we are not yet ready to let go of everything. Because it's not only about the tshuva that we do, but about the person that we are. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about two things, our actions, but also about us. This is the chiddush of this Rambam I want to suggest. There's something called tshuva gemura, the action of tshuva. A complete tshuva is when you do it only for the right reasons. Rabbi, you're listening. You're going to be somewhere on Sukkot. You're going to have the opportunity to do something that maybe is not appropriate. And if you don't do it because of tshuva reasons, that's tshuva gemura. But let's say you say to yourself, no, I'm not doing it for tshuva reasons. I'm just doing it because, I don't know, I'm cheap. I don't want to spend the money. The Rambam would tell you it's tshuva. It's just not tshuva gemura. It's also meaningful, but it's not a complete tshuva. But a little bit is also good. As Rabbi Nachman says, ma'aminim b'ktzat. You have to believe in the power of a little bit. That's in terms of the action. But what about the person? Here's the Rambam. Let's say you didn't do it because you're old. You don't have the same taiva that you did when you were 18 years old. You remember those passions? I remember. I'm just looking at looking around, seeing some of the chevra here. Imagine you have a guy, I don't know, when he was younger, maybe he goes out to a club and maybe they take a video of him and he says, yeah, baby, let's do this every night, again and again and again and again. Now, Baruch Hashem, he gets older. He gets, I'm not talking to anybody specific, Rabbi. I'm just telling you, I was just looking around on the Zoom. Yeah, now he gets a little bit older. Ellie, relax, it's not you, yeah? Yeah, he gets older. Maybe he's not, the notion of being out late at night, you know, Rabbi, you're gonna find this out, you're only 18 years old. When you get to be in your 40s, you know what happens? You're too tired to do an Aveira. I know it sounds weird to you guys. You'd say, like, should I do the Aveira? I want to go to sleep. I need a nap. Right, Corey? You and I, we're old people. We need naps. So the Rambam says, not only is that a good tshuva, you're about tshuva. You changed. And even though you're not doing it for the right reasons, that change is significant. This is what Yom Kippur has to be, Rabbi Osai. A gentle, loving father. Avichem Shabashamayim. You show up to Yom Kippur, if you have one moment over the entire Yom Kippur where you have some sense of charata, yeah, I want to do better. I want to do more. Even in the back of your head, you're going, I know in a couple of days' time, I'm going to be back to these challenges. Maybe not even a couple of days. You know, they say the famous joke. They say, we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa La'olam Va'ed, screaming out loud on Yom Kippur because we're like the Malachim. So then why do we say it quietly the moment after Yom Kippur is over? What Aveira could we possibly have done in Ma'ariv after Ne'ilah? So there's different jokes that go around. It was because you were trash talking the Chazan the entire time, saying he's going too slow, he's going too fast. Okay. But the real reason why we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa La'olam Va'ed quietly is because we're back in the real world. And in the real world, we're going to make mistakes. And we're not Malachim. We're human. It's okay to be human. But if you could have a little bit of charata, a little bit of regret, a little bit of choice, a little bit of like, maybe I want to grow this year. Maybe this is going to be the year where I mamish do it. You should know not only does your tshuva help, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will grant you mechila, but even more than that, you've changed. And any little bit helps. I want to wish you all a Gemar Chasima Tova, a good gebench jar. It's awesome to see you. I love you. Have an awesome Yom Kippur. We're coming with Ne'avichem Shabashamayim. Smile, dance, relax. It's going to be a beautiful Yom Kippur. It's going to be honest, but it's going to be wonderful. Rabosai, I miss you all. I love you all. I'll see you soon.